You spent 13 years in school, around 15,000 hours. You learned the quadratic formula. You memorized the parts of a cell. You dissected a frog. And in all those hours, not one was spent on the thing you do every single day for the rest of your life. Handle money. Nobody explained a paycheck. Nobody showed you what compound interest does. Nobody told you what a credit score is, or how quietly it decides the life you can afford. You walked out prepared for a test you'll never take, and unprepared for the one that never ends. That wasn't an accident, and it was not your fault. So, this is the class you never got. 7 things you should have learned about money before you turned 18. How to keep what you earn. How money grows on its own. The 2 kinds of debt. The income that pays you while you sleep. But about 2/3 of the way in, I'm going to show you the one lesson that secretly controls all the other 6. The reason 2 people with the same salary end up in completely different places. Most people never learn it. Stay for it. Let's start with the one nobody thinks about. Earning money and keeping money are not the same skill. Most people treat a paycheck like a finish line. It arrives, they spend it, they wait for the next one. But the money that builds a life isn't the money you earn. It's the money you keep. Economist Thomas Stanley spent decades studying millionaires. His findings surprised everyone. Most of them aren't high earners. They're high keepers. Ordinary incomes. Extraordinary discipline about what stays. A paycheck isn't the destination. It's raw material. What you do with it in the next 48 hours decides whether it works for you or vanishes. And almost no one is taught that the keeping is the hard part. The second lesson has a name you were never given. The time value of money. $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. Not mainly because of inflation, but because money in the right place grows on its own. Here's the number that should have been on a poster in every classroom. Invest $200 a month starting at 22, earning 8% a year, and you retire with nearly $900,000. Start the exact same habit at 32, same money, same discipline, and you end with about $385,000. The only difference is 10 years. That gap is more than $500,000 bought with nothing but time. Einstein supposedly called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. Whether he said it or not, the math is real. Start early, and the work is small. Start late, and you spend the rest of your life chasing it. And that's only the second lesson. The ones coming up are where most of the real damage actually happens. Because growing money only matters if it isn't quietly leaking out the other side. Which brings us to debt. Not all debt is the same, and almost no one teaches the difference. There's debt that costs you, and debt that pays you. A credit card at 20% interest is a slow leak in your financial life. Every month you carry it, you're paying for things you already bought. But a mortgage on a home that gains value, or a loan for a degree that doubles your income, those can work for you. The problem is nobody gave you a way to tell them apart. So people do one of 2 things: fear all debt or ignore all debt. Both lose. Here's the framework you should have gotten. Ask any debt 2 questions. What is this costing me, and what is it producing? If the cost is bigger than what it produces, it's working against you. That's it. And consumer debt is built to fool you. The card doesn't feel like debt. It feels like convenience. MIT researcher Drazen Prelak showed people spend significantly more on a card than with cash, because handing over physical money hurts, and tapping plastic doesn't. You should have known that before your first card, not after. The 4th lesson. There are 2 kinds of income, and school only prepares you for one. Active income is work for pay. You show up, you get paid. You stop, it stops. Passive income is different. Money that flows whether you're working or not. Rent from a property, dividends from investments, interest from savings. A business that runs without you. Nobody gets there overnight. You start fully dependent on active income and slowly build streams that don't need your hours. The goal isn't to stop working. It's to reach the point where working is a choice, not a cage. And this isn't only for the wealthy. Ordinary people build it on ordinary incomes. But you can't pursue an idea you were never told existed. So far, every lesson has been mechanics. Keep, grow, borrow, earn. But here's the strange part. Knowing all of it still isn't enough. Because there's one force underneath the other six that decides whether you ever actually use them. Your financial behavior is emotional before it is mathematical. How you handle money was shaped before you ever earned any, by what you watched growing up. If money meant tension in your house, you probably feel that tension now. If your family spent to celebrate, you probably spent to feel good. If saving came wrapped in fear, you might avoid it even when you're safe. Psychologist Brad Klontz calls these money scripts, invisible beliefs formed in childhood that quietly run your adult decisions. Most people have never even named theirs. And here's why it matters. Two people with identical incomes can end up in completely different places. Same math, different behavior, and the behavior always comes from somewhere. This is the lesson that explains why knowing what to do and actually doing it are two different things. Master this one, and the other six finally start to work. So once you understand the why, you need the how. The sixth lesson is the most hated word in money, the budget. And the hate comes from a lie. A budget is not a cage, a punishment, or a list of things you can't have. It's a map. It shows where your money actually goes so you can decide if that's where you want it. Most people who feel broke don't earn too little. They've simply never looked at the gap between what comes in and what goes out. Dave Ramsey spent 30 years proving that people at almost every income overspend in categories they've never once examined. Not because they're careless, because no one taught them to look. The habit is simple. Before the money arrives, give every dollar a job. At month's end, check if they did it. Adjust. Repeat. 20 minutes a month. That's the whole thing. And it quietly changes everything. The seventh lesson, your credit score. The number you were never taught until it was already costing you. It's a 3-digit grade, 300 to 850, of how reliably you've repaid what you borrowed. And it's quietly everywhere. It sets the interest on your car loan. It decides if you get the apartment. In some states, it's checked before you're hired. Building it is simple. Pay on time, every time. Keep your card balances low. Don't open a pile of new accounts. Don't close your old ones. Wrecking it is just as simple. Missed payments, max out cards, default. Here's the cruel part. A single missed payment can sit on your report for 7 years. The system doesn't care that no one gave you the manual. It just expects you to know. Now you do. So there's the class you should have had. 7 lessons. Keep more than you earn. Let time and compounding do the heavy lifting. Know the difference between debt that costs and debt that pays. Build income that doesn't need your hours. Understand that your money habits are emotional first. That's the one that runs all the rest. Make a budget that's a map, not a cage. And protect the quiet number that follows you everywhere. None of this is complicated. It never was. It was just never taught. You weren't behind because you weren't smart enough. You were behind because you were handed a life full of money decisions and none of the instructions. That ends today. And here's the part that matters most. Once you understand this, you're not just fixing your own money. You become the one who breaks the cycle, the person who finally passes it down. So whoever comes after you starts with the instructions you never got. If this filled in even one of those gaps, here's your next step. I made a free 1-page money basics checklist. All 7 lessons boiled down to what to actually do this week. It's linked below. Grab it, keep it, pass it on. And if you want the rest of the curriculum school skipped, the one worth handing down, subscribe. That's the whole point of this channel. One primer at a time. Next up, we go deep on the very first lesson. Most people get wrong while your paycheck is smaller than you think and where the missing money actually goes. I'll see you there.